had together. Today we're going to talk about how to use Desmos for formative assessments. So you should see on my screen right now, I should be sharing this with you, and you should see the slide deck that says Desmos for formative assessments. If you have any questions, I have the chat open. If we're going too fast or you have a specific question, just put them in the chat and I'll frequently look at it. Or you can just turn your mic on if you want to. And we're going to look at two facets of Desmos today. We're going to look at the graphing calculator, and we're going to look at classroom activities, and we're going to focus on how to work with a classroom activity to make it more customized. So this is where we're going to dive into using what's called the Activity Builder. And so I'm going to showcase that today. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I heard that the internet was down at some schools. So, so perfect that we're recording it, and we can throw that out. But anytime you have any questions about Desmos, I love being like the student or facilitating on a teacher end for you. I can even come in and co-teach with you. With Zoom, we have that ability, but we go back into in-person. I can come into your classroom and we can co-teach together on a Desmos Classroom Activity. But I'm going to show you today, I think that if you look at just how we can make just a few slides in a classroom activity or more, that you can use these activities synchronously and asynchronously. For a homework assignment or for asynchronous time during our NTI-2DL in the classroom, in person, you can assign it and then you can facilitate. And then even in a Zoom, which I'll focus on today, based on us still being virtual here in Fayette County, I'll give you some pointers for how to do that as well. So we're going to dive into talking about why we use Desmos. But first, I want to get some information from you. So really quick, if you could just type your school name and what your position is there. So if you're a 6th grade math teacher at Beaumont, or if you are a 7th grade teacher or you teach elementary at William Wells Brown, just so I can then, I'm going to send you a Desmos badge for participation today. And so I'll send you an email later that has the links, and so that you have my email and you have it right there in your Outlook. So thank you for that. Again, usually I would start off with a classroom activity that gave me some information, but we're specifically looking at classroom activities today. So I'm not going to do that for you today. Okay, so why are we going to use Desmos? We're going to use it because it's great student engagement. Ms. Feast always says she's never heard a student that doesn't like Desmos. It gives us great feedback from students. I love it because you can facilitate and coach. It's not something that you can use to actually teach a lesson. It's a formative assessment activity. So after you've done your instructional teaching, this is a great way then to follow up. It's a great way to start a new lesson. It can use it as an exit slip if you wanted to. So you can put it anywhere to get feedback from students. But again, the main thing is I can be the facilitator and I can be using good questioning techniques while the Desmos activity is going on. But it's not something that I would use to teach with, except the graphing calculator, which I'm going to show you in a little bit. Desmos follows the NCTM principles. It follows our curriculum. It's embedded in Savvis/Pearson in many levels. So we'll talk about that later. It's embedded everywhere. K-Prep uses the scientific calculator. It uses a graphing calculator for high schools. It's on the SAT, the ACT. You're going to see it everywhere. MAP uses it as well if you're doing MAP testing. Dan Meyer works for them now, so he's amazing. The list goes on and on. So that's why we promote it in Fayette County. So we're going to start out with the graphing calculator, which has the scientific calculator embedded in it. So if you are an elementary school, like a 4th or 5th grade teacher, I'm looking at my thing here. It doesn't look like we have any 4th or 5th grade teachers. So I don't have to, but if you are watching right now, the recorded version in your 4th or 5th grade, the graphing calculator actually has the scientific calculator in it. So the more we can have our students experience the graphing calculator, the better, even if you're not doing graphing at the particular moment. But I wanted to show you some features of the graphing calculator. So again, all of our links, and I want to show you this first. Let me pop out of here real quick, out of the presentation. And if you use that bit.ly, that again, the new bit.ly, this is actually a new bit.ly because I move stuff around. I'm going to type it in the chat one more time. This new bit.ly will take you here, and then what you'll see here is our Wakelet. So this is where I'm putting all information Desmos during this fall time, and probably will take it into the spring, but it will have all the stuff we talk about. So it has the slide deck in it already. If you want to go to the slide deck, you're gonna have a lot of tabs open. So if your computer is slow like mine and it doesn't like a lot of tabs, you can just follow along. I'm just gonna assume you're following along with my Zoom screen. But if you do wanna pop out and look at something and test something, feel free to. The slide deck is right here, and you can make a copy of that for later, or you can just use it as it looks. You just have viewing mode right now. There's lots of other things on this site, like that bit.ly is right here. It takes you to the Desmos site. Desmos has live events on Thursday nights. You can click their YouTube live channel. And then there's some more information about that. If today, when we're talking about classroom activities later, you have no idea how to get to those and haven't used them before at all, I have other videos that'll show you that. So I'm going to kind of assume that you already have been in classroom activities just for the sake of what we're going to look at today. But I have 2 YouTube videos that can help you if you want to learn on your own, or again, if you want to reach out to me later and we can Zoom and I can show you the steps to how to get into the classroom activities. There's one feature I'm going to show you now about assigning them that's new. There's accessibility features that I added here. So you can take a look at that Wakelet and you can share that out. A couple other things down there that we're going to look at today. But I'll have the recording here as well after we're done. So I'll post a recording of our session here so you can go back and share that out, or if you need to refer to it later. Okay, so let me go back here. So the graphing calculator, your students already have an account. They have what's called a Google single sign-on, and it's what they're using to get into their Chromebooks. If obviously for middle and high school, elementary school, you might be using Clever Badges or something like that, but they all have an account with their school email and password. It's the same that gets them into Google, Canvas, Google Classroom. I see now, they just switched that where students log in with their Google single sign-on. So they don't have to they don't have to sign up. They already have an actual calculator account. It's pretty interesting. And so they can share graphs with you. Things they do on the graphing calculator can be shared in Canvas and in their Google Classroom. I think most of us here are Canvas users right now because we're middle and high school, but it also works with Google Classroom. So I can actually have them either export an image of a graph. This is fun if you're doing like an art activity. There's a great Halloween art activity coming up where you can have them create a picture with restrictions and all different types of graphs. That would probably be if they were in the high school and they've had some work, but you could actually show them some of those Halloween graphs, and if and I'll get a link for you for that, and then we could say, hey, this is what we're working towards in Desmos, because the art, they actually even have an art contest, so it's really fun. So you can export an image, but they can copy a link to Canvas to show you what they did. And so, well, why would I use that? And there's some screenshot information, which I'll stop because you guys, we're all using Canvas now. They don't really need to take a screenshot, but if you needed a screenshot. So I've got here something you can actually share with your students on how to name and save a graph in Desmos. It's just steps, it's not me talking, but you can show your students this. You could share it with them in your Canvas course or your Google Classroom, and it shows them how to name and save their work. The graphing calculator does not have an auto save feature. It actually has a save button. So when they're finished, they've got to make sure to save their work. We're in this new realm of auto save a lot, and so they don't think to save their work, but they're going to need to save what work they do. So you can share that video out with your students, and it shows them how to access the calculator as well with their single sign-on. So again, like why would you want them to be submitting something from the graphing calculator? Well, you can create lessons, like formative assessment lessons on the graphing calculator. And you can do it with notes and folders. So you could use this either synchronously or asynchronously, and you can actually set it up so that you have like your own notes inside of the graphing calculator. And that it's not called an activity, but I like to kind of think of it as a graphing activity with the graphing calculator. So let me show you an example of that. This is actually the Learn Desmos folders, and I put that in there because the folders are a little tricky. I'm going to show you in a minute to drag things into it. So this is a lesson that I created, and it's just a quick lesson that maybe I'm starting out with. I want to talk to them about transformations, let's say. So I set this up beforehand, and then I copied the link in the share your graph, and I can embed that into my Canvas course. You can actually embed it, and then you could have them go to that, or you could just pull this up and share this link with them in your Zoom or your Google Meet, whatever video platform you're using. However you want to disseminate that, but you could then put it in Canvas later or Google Classroom, that link, so that they could look at it for students that may have not showed up for class, or if it's an asynchronous lesson. So you have that ability to share that out. So like right now, I could copy it and I can put it in the chat. And so you could click on it in the chat and it will open up in your internet. And then again, I wanted you to come back to the Zoom, but you could play around with it too. So I wanted to show you this. This is actually an example of folders and notes. So if I come over here and I teach my students that they click on this little arrow, and I made this like it would be asynchronous, so it's very wordy. But you definitely want to use good practices when you're doing an asynchronous lesson, and that is to kind of be a little wordy. So I could probably make steps here, like step number 1, step number 2, but I made this today really quick for you. So I do want to make sure I include my learning intentions and my success criteria, just to make sure we're all doing that. And then I click on the circle in line 6. So you can see I messed up already. It should be line 5 because I added some stuff and moved stuff around. So I want to double check that. But I have my parent graph, and then they would click, and then they can actually type their answer. Okay, so this is their account. So my name is Susan up here. So you'll know that they did it. And then you can have them share it with you in the Canvas or Google Classroom as a submission. And then you will see their answers over here. So it's a great way to get where they're right in the activity. You don't have to make a copy of it. You've shared it out. They've opened it up. It's not like Google Docs in that effect where you have to be careful of editing rights. It's theirs to edit. They just have to make sure they save it up here before they share it, or it's not going to have anything in it. We have students that do that off and on. So how do I create the notes and the folder? Well, the plus sign up top here, I can add a folder, and let's say I want it to be example number 3. I can click and drag the outside here. You can see, I don't know if you can see it very well, but if you're in the Zoom screen, I can left click and hold it and then drag it down, and I'm just in this little part right here. I love the line numbers because you can have them look at that. So again, I need to make sure that I've changed these so they're appropriate for the line number. And then I can add notes to that. And again, I might have to drag down here, and I could say hide all graphs. Create 2 graphs that have the same y-intercept but different slopes. And then they would insert those below. So I would leave those blank because they can just click on it. I could say 2 graphs below in y-intercept form, so I can get more specific, but you get the idea. Now here's the tricky part about the folder, which I love the folder because it organizes it. You see this little line, there's this little vertical line here. It's really thin next to what I have in this folder up here. You can see the line is drawn up to example 1. So the way to do that, and that's why I created that video there, is just to drag it over just a little bit to the right. Click on that blue area again and drag a little bit, and you'll see the vertical line show up, and then you can let go. And then I know it's in it because when I close the folder up, it hides it. So I can also then drag their answers to that question into that example, because I want those to be part of example 3. And then when I close it open, it's got the 2 open places right there. So that's a way you can have them answer the questions and keep it organized. There's also images in here if you want to show an image, tables, and obviously the expressions. And then I'll save this, and then I can share it out with you now. I can do it the same way. I can use the embed code to put it in my Canvas. The embed code does not work in Google Classroom, but it does work in Canvas. So with that new rich content editor that we just got last week. So you can embed that in there as well. So I'm going to come back to the presentation here. So hopefully that gave you some ideas of how you could use the graphing calculators, notes, and folders. And again,
welcome to a quick video tutorial on using folders
for help with that. Some other ways that you could use it would be, you could actually have them solve math equations, and they could see if their graph changes. So this was an example that I just screenshotted here, but it's up on this link as well if you want it later, of how the student could turn the graph on as they're solving the equation in each of those open boxes with their steps. And so they're showing work, and then they also can see that their work produces the same equation. So that's a pretty neat idea too. Yes, actually they are, when it's embedded in Canvas, yes, they can work it right inside of Canvas. You can, if you put in the link, it'll take them out of Canvas, but you can have them work it right in Canvas, which is kind of nice. And so this is another way you could say, you know, solve this equation for y, or put this equation in y equals form, and then they could kind of check to see. I kind of like that for equations. You could also ask them to find the errors. I'm a huge proponent of find errors because they become more critical thinkers that way. So I might turn all these on, and then it becomes kind of a little game to figure out, well, where was the mistake to make all the graphs the same line? So that's a kind of neat activity you could do with that as well. Another thing that I love, especially for my 8th grade and high school teachers, is that the data regression that you can do with Desmos is amazing. I'm not going to get into it right now, but I think more than ever, it's neat to see, talk to them about data-driven decisions. And so there's tables you can copy right from a Google spreadsheet. And then this link will show you more about regressions, how they can type those in. But that is in Savvis as well. Savvis uses the Desmos regressions in some of their examples. So, so we're excited about that. We're also trying to push out to Savvis that they put the Desmos scientific and graphing calculator in their Math Excel and quizzes that are on their platform. They do a great job of incorporating it in the online lessons that they have with the examples and that they provide online, but I would love for them to have it actually embedded in the Math Excel. They have it as an option, obviously, like as one of their helps, but I would love to see it in the test itself, just like they have it with the ACT, the MAP, and the test itself. Like when they take a test, like our common assessments that we give, it'd be great to have it in there as well. Okay, so moving on. I got lots
Welcome to a quick video tutorial.
Okay, let's go on. There we go. Okay, this gives you a little information about embedding and just some notes about that. And I won't go too much into that right now, but because we mentioned it already, but if you need some extra help with that, there's some slides of what it looks like in a Google Classroom with the link. And again, being specific in your directions online. Obviously, I'm sure you've had that experience already with your students, and then the embedded code. This is how to embed it into. This is actually probably with the rich content editor for before, so I'm going to have to update that. I don't think I updated that. So, but this will show you. This will also show you how to fix the height and width specifications, which is kind of nice. But I'll update that video. Make a note here to update that because it's not using the new rich content editor. So I'll switch that for you. Just happened last week. So I'll update that video. All right, moving on. And this is what it looks like. So that question about Desmos embedded, that's what it looks like right there. And you can embed a just plain old graphing calculator into an assignment. So you don't have to, you can just share out the Desmos graphing calculator, which is what that link is. This link is here. This is just a plain old Desmos calculator. So if you want them to do some something on, in Desmos, or excuse me, in Desmos graphing calculator while you're in Canvas, you can do that too. So you can provide that just plain old Desmos calculator. You can do it in a Desmos quiz within the rich content editor. You can also embed the calculator as well. Okay, so classroom activities. This is what I really wanted to get to today. And again, if you have never done a classroom activity, that's great. I'm glad you're here. I totally encourage you to try one before the end of the semester. I know that's with everything going on, that seems crazy, but I have faith that you can do it. Because once you do one, you're going to be like, you'll be hooked, I promise. And your students will be hooked too. And there's so many great ones that we've already got the alignment. So you don't even really have to go finding one. If you go to that, and I'll have to update this slide too, sorry. Go to that bit.ly, not this one that's on here, but the one that I provided for you, Cue the Desmos. If you scroll all the way down on that website, we have all of the Desmos Classroom activities you could ever need aligned with our curriculum for elementary, middle, and high school, the AGA anyway. But we're going to work on pre-calculus and calculus because Desmos is starting to add more activities based on that, which I am so excited for. But if you scroll down on the new bit.ly that I put in the chat, you'll see all of the Desmos alignments that we have for you. So other things that you can look at are the learndesmos.com coronavirus site. They give you some activities too that you could try, and they talk about their SEL starter screens, which we're actually going to use as an example here in just a bit. So, but you would go to, so you've got the graphing calculator that's at desmos.com. You would go to teacher.desmos.com to find the classroom activity. So that's where I'm going to be here for a little bit. What's neat about the classroom activities is you can have them asynchronous or synchronous. You can put in those starter screens for SEL, get some feedback for them. You can now give written feedback. So you can actually, like, let's say I assign this, it wouldn't matter, asynchronous or synchronous. You can have the students go back in the next class or later on that period, which that's way too soon for you to give feedback. But we think feedback is the best way to get your students engaged in these activities because it's personal and you're building relationships with that feedback. And it's a new beta version with the feedback, so you have to turn it on, but I have the steps for that. I'm just a huge proponent in just, I know it's so time consuming, but right now reaching out and knowing that what they do matters because you're looking at it and you're giving feedback. So it's not just you're putting a grade in IC or a grade in Canvas or wherever. It's not just about grading it, it's about leaving good feedback. So you could do that in Canvas. You can leave feedback using SpeedGrader. Excuse me. But you could also do it right in Desmos Classroom Activities. And I'm going to show you the new feature that makes that even easier for the students to get back into it. So that's coming. The polygraph is wonderful for them to play. Polygraph activities, it randomly assigns them a partner and they ask each other questions. I love the polygraph. The questioning techniques, they can use good vocabulary. You could give them a word bank and say, your questions have to have, it's almost like 20 questions game, but you could give them a word bank and say that the questions have to have these words in it. I just love polygraph. And again, you could have them do some regression activities during what's going on right now. So there's the link to the video about how to find and assign them, which was also in the Wakelet. It's the same that's in the Wakelet. For you, you can create collections to keep yourself organized, but they also have a new feature, which I'm going to show you here in a minute, which is that you can now create classes. Okay, and so this is the new feature. Once you found an activity, you want to assign it, and you can now assign to classes. I love this because then it will have the students can see what they've done. Before, you just gave them a code, which you can still do, by the way. If you don't want to fool with classes right now, it's fine. You can still give them a single code and push that out onto your Canvas or on to your Google Classroom, or just pop it in to the Zoom or pop it into the Zoom and have them get to it that way. It's very easy to do. It's a 6-number digit or letter digit code, and they would pop it in. You can do that. But what I love now is now they can go to their class, and then they'll see what they were assigned in that class. And that I think forces them to then look at the feedback that you would give. You could easily then, you wouldn't have to give them the code anymore, and they only have to join your class once. So once you have them join the class, then anything you assign them after that, they won't need a code for, which I love. You don't have to always generate the codes anymore. You just have one class code, and then they can get into the activities from there. So it makes it a little easier on your end to not have to always generate that code for them for the activity. You can then just have them one time join your class code the same way they did with a activity, and they're done. And so anytime they do their single sign-on, again, they're going to log in with their they already have a student.desmos.com account. So this isn't desmos.com, the graphing calculator. This is student.desmos.com, which is for classroom activities. And again, they'll just log in with their single sign-on, and then they'll see their activities. They can click on it, and they're in it. Okay, so I love it. It's wonderful. I'm so excited for that managed classes. So this is the video on how to do that, the link for that, and how that works. So you can take a look at that, and then they won't have to do this class code anymore. They'll just see their activities, and that's it. It's wonderful. Okay, so when you assign an activity, so let's say we've already done that, and now we're ready to, if we're doing it synchronously, then we'll have them get on the activity while they're in our Zoom or Google Meet. And then you will have the opportunity then to see them as they are working. So, or you can go back if it's asynchronous, and you can look at your teacher dashboard to see what they've done so far. So you have this great opportunity to get real-time feedback from them during your lesson, or before, after. You can use it as a warm-up. You could use it as a exit slip, or you could use it during, like while you're doing instruction. But then you'll have your teacher dashboard up. So you can anonymize the students in the teacher dashboard so that they don't see who it is. And you can show it in the Zoom. And then you can pause activities. You can pace the students. So then you can come in and you can ask questions in terms of, you can snapshot. So you can snapshot a couple of students, and then you can generate discussion. It's a wonderful tool for questioning based on what they're doing. And if you see students that aren't, you see that they didn't understand the question, you can stop them. It's amazing. So you have 4 views. You have the snapshot view, the summary view, the teacher view, and the student view in there. I'll let you kind of go through this later, but the summary view just basically would answer questions for you like what students have logged in, where are they right now, synchronous or asynchronous, what students are further ahead or behind than you anticipated. I always usually put some differentiated questions at the end. What's wonderful about these Desmos activities is they come in low floor and they can take it to the high ceiling. So it hits everyone where they're at. So were there any questions that are easy or challenging for the class? So that kind of gives you the overall summary. And it just has a list of your students. This is in, you can again do, if you're showing it on Zoom, or if you want to look at it outside of your Zoom, you can, so that they don't see it. But then you actually have some really good views that you'd want to bring it back to into your Zoom screen. But what you get, and this is why it's great for formative feedback, is the dash. They didn't do any work. Check means that everything on the screen is correct if you had graded parts of that. So that's something we'll talk about when we get to the classroom activities that we're editing and copying. The dot means that it's done. The dot means it's done, but you have to go back and look at it, or it's something that wasn't graded and you just had them type in things, like it doesn't grade open response, obviously. But I have a lot of dot activities because I haven't done much with it as a tool for grading, but it's wonderful for that too. The cross means something's wrong. Again, if you had incorrect or correct. And the warning, I've never actually seen the warning, but it may indicate that something is going really wrong with it. But I actually haven't seen the warning yet when I've done Desmos activities. But this is why it gives you good feedback, because now I know if they've completed it, I know if it's right or wrong, and I know where they're at in the activity. So I get some great feedback about where they're at, how far they've gotten along, and then again, right or wrong, I get some great feedback with that. So in real-time synchronous instruction, you will actually see movement. Like you'll see movement on the screen, and you can play some music in the background and have them work, but you can see where they're at. And this is a time where you could be giving them 30 minutes to work on it during synchronous time, and you could be making feedback comments. You can be creating and stopping and pacing in there as well. So it's wonderful for formative assessment feedback. I think it's one of the best things that math teachers can use out there. But there's an anonymized feature if you wanted to show the overall summary board. There's pacing and pausing, so you can stop everyone, or you can pace them and just have them do the first screens, and then you can turn the pace off and move on. Again, being careful of your students that might be ahead or behind with that, but it's good for definitely for keeping them on track and keeping them at the same level if that's what you needed. And then these are the teacher view. That was the summary view. The teacher view will have you answering questions like, all my students answer this question. It actually takes you to the actual question, and it's a view of each slide. So now you can see answers. You can take snapshots with the little camera icon that you see there, and you can get feedback that way. The written feedback, that shows you how to turn that on. And then you can once you have it on for your Desmos account, then you can give written feedback. So there's links on there to do that. But what I wanted to do for the rest of the time we have together is I wanted to show you how to create your own activity. So this is about editing as well. So if you're just new to classroom activities, I wouldn't start with your own activity unless you're thebomb.com, which all of you are anyway. But you might find an activity that you like, but you want it shorter, or you want some slides moved, or you want slides deleted, or you want to put in a starter screen for SEL temperature, like you want to know how everyone's doing. So that's what I kind of base this on in this time where we really need to build relationships and find out how our students are doing. I base this on that. So I'm going to show you the steps, but all of it is in here. So why would I want to copy and edit it? Because of all those things I just said. Maybe I want to add, delete, take away. So I'm going to show you those steps right now. But again, all of these steps I'm going to do are in this video here. Okay. So it's actually a short video of what we're going to do right now. All right. So I'm going to get out of here. And if you want to go to teacher.desmos.com, because we're off the slide deck here. And then in the top right-hand corner, and I'll paste this link in the chat for you. Teacher.desmos.com, you already have an account. So you're going to log in with your single sign-on. So let me log out here because I'm always on it so much. So you can see what that looks like. I'm going to sign out. Sign in. And then sign in with Google. Don't type anything, just use your single sign-on, and then it's going to ask me which of these I want, because I have a million accounts on my computer here. So I want the first one. So it should give you that. It might ask you for the first time, it might ask you then to type in your password or the email itself, depending on where you're at and what computer you're on. But now I'm in, I see my name, and now this is my Desmos account. Here's the Desmos Labs where you can set up the feedback, you can click that button as well. So now let's say I want to find an activity. I found an activity. So I've gone to the Desmos. I found an activity that goes with what I'm doing right now in topic 2 or 3. And I want to use that activity, but I want to edit it. So first, I want to show you how to copy slides from another activity. So Desmos has a ton of starter screens, but it also has like getting to know each other. So let's say you're starting quarter 2 in an elective, let's say you have an intervention class, or you just want to get to know your students better than you have before, then I can come here and I can look at these get to know each other. This is a whole activity that just has slides. I wouldn't do all of these unless you want to. But you can copy some of them. You have to copy them one at a time though, which is kind of awful. But this has things about you in math, like describing it, how much you agree or disagree. You can plop that in somewhere. Who's one person you want to have lunch with? So how is this class going for you so far? A sketch about you. So this has a talking point slide and introduce yourself. Has really great things in it. Another place you can go just for temperature checks is the screens for checking in. And if I just type starter screens in the search bar at the top, I'll find that activity. And again, this has ones that you might not assign to all of your students at once as an activity, but you can copy them. So this is my favorite one. Where are you today? And they can drag the point. I love it because it's got quadrants. So I'm so geeky. So what I did was I clicked on that slide that I liked out of those screens. And up here in the corner, at the top left-hand corner next to student screen preview is how you copy a screen. So you click this little duplication, it copies it, and now you'll see it tells you to paste it into Activity Builder, okay? So first step is to copy the slide that you like. So if you're back on the Zoom screen here, now I'm going to paste it into an activity that I want to use and edit. So now I have to go back and find that activity. If I put it in my collections, I could find it. I also can go to my activity history because it'll show what I last clicked on. And I'm going to do this turtle time trials. But this paint one is really cute too. It's about ratio and proportion, which I've heard really good things about. Sorry, that's not what I wanted to do. Oh, crap. Sorry about that. So I don't want to get into the teacher dashboard, which is what I just did. I'm always clicking on the wrong place. So I'm going to open up just the activity, not the teacher dashboard part. So let's go to turtle time trial so I don't make that same mistake again. Okay, so I want to be on this platform here. I don't want to be actually in the teacher dashboard with it. So here's where I assigned a class and I can create the class there. But let's say I want to use this turtle time trials, but I don't like all the slides. Like let's say I don't have time for all the slides. I don't need the reflection. I don't need all of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the top on this platform, not in the teacher dashboard, and I'm going to go to the little snowman here at the top right-hand corner, which is the ... I'm going to click on it and I'm going to choose copy and edit. Again, I've already copied the slide because you can only copy one at a time right now, that I want to embed into this activity. So I went to that starter slide. So here I'm in the activity builder. So now I'm going to copy and edit it. So if I like it just the way it is, I wouldn't copy and edit it. But this is only if you want to change that classroom activity. You get all these classroom activities for free. So this is only if you want to add that starter screen. And here's how easy it is to add it. I'm going to paste it in right now. So I'm going to hit my Control V or if I'm on my Mac, which I am right now, I'm going to hit Command V, and then it's placed right in there. Look at that. It's like magic. So all I have to do is copy it with that duplication tool in the student screen preview. Again, just by clicking, I don't have to assign or do anything. I just open that platform up that shows me about the activity. And then once I copied it, then I copy and edit from that snowman. And then I literally just paste it in. And you can paste with Control V, Command V if you're on a Mac. And now it's in there. I can left click it and move it. And maybe I don't want to even paste in one. I just wanted to move stuff around. You can do that with any of these slides. You can move them, click on them, move them. It's yours now. Maybe I don't have time for the reflection. I'm going to hit this little X. I can delete it. And it'll ask me if I want to delete it. And then I'm good. Okay. So now I'm ready to go. Maybe I don't like the wording in something. I can click on any of these slides and then I can add more instruction. I can take away components. This little vertical snowman laying on the ground because he's melting. I can click on that and I can delete components. These are your choice components over here. So if you want to add a multiple choice question, you can do that and that will grade it for you. So that's how you could make a wrong or right answer. Maybe you want to put one little slide at the end that's a multiple choice question that you give a formative assessment grade for. Maybe I want to add some media, a video or a sketch. So many options here that you have as well. And then it has actually the graphing calculator you can embed, marble slides if you want to work with that, or a card sort. So you could do your own card sort. We've already seen some people sharing out card sorts this year, so appreciate that. Now, when I've done, I want to click the name of it, and maybe I want to name this so it's specific to the date or topic or lesson, because your students now, if you assign classes, if you create classes in the teacher.desmos.com, you're going to have a lot of names and they're not going to know why they're doing it. I don't really, maybe I forget that what did the turtle time trials even go with. So I might want to put on here turtle time trials because it's cute, but maybe I want to put topic 2-3, or I want to put the date, 10/22, and then I can save it. If I want to make it private, I can, but you're going to need, if you want to share this out with other teachers, you can use the link. If you're just viewing it, that's fine. But you want to then again, if you are pushing this out to students, make it a public link. So hit save. And then I've got that saved there. Now it's time to publish it. And I want to hit the publish. If I want to come back later, I can save it as a draft. But then once it's published, it's out there in Activity World. And so then you've got it. And so now this says edited by you, even though Dave, I don't know who Dave is, but Jay Choi also edited it. So he gets props too. And so now I've got my edited version that I like. I can come and assign it to my classes, or if I want to do like normal and just do a single session code, I do like the classes because it keeps it organized, but you'd have to do one for each class. So you could do it by subject area. If you're teaching multiple, Algebra 1 classes, you could just have it where they're all in the same class. But I kind of like to have separate classes because then it's going to be easier for me to have like a split screen and put a grade into Infinite Campus. I can just look in there and put it in Infinite Campus. So that's just a tip. But then I can go to assign to classes. I can click on the classes I want to assign it to and then hit assign, and then it's in there. And so now there's no code, because once the student goes in and you've given them the class code to that class, which you would do, that's in the instructions there, but I could show you that with my classes. It's in the manage classes. And then it shows you here how to assign to classes. So they only have to go once one time. This is the class code, and then they get all the activities that you push into it. So it's really nice. Where am I at time? Oh, good. I'm getting it all in. So that is how you copy and edit. Now you can create your own classroom activity. Last thing I want to show you. To do that, if you want to start brand new, or you just want to have a couple slides that kind of get them used to getting into your Desmos Classroom, basically, and you haven't used it yet, but you want to just pop in a slide or two for SEL and maybe a exit slip, you can do that. So you would go to custom. This is how you get to it, to create a brand new activity. You go to custom, and then new activity up in the top corner. So custom is on the side here under collections, and then new activity. And then you would title it, maybe warm up, again, being more specific so that students would know. And you can delete any of these that you start. And maybe I put a little description, I create new activity, and then it's going to take me right into Activity Builder. That's the only way to access Activity Builder for brand new activities that you want to create. And again, you access it through the copy and edit feature if you wanted to do something to another. Not all the classroom activities, by the way, can you copy and edit, just some, at most, I want to say, not some, but you will have some that don't have edit abilities to make your own. And so this is what it would look like brand new with nothing there. You can add a card sort down here. I made a card sort the other day for one of my teachers. I can make a multiple choice question if I want to put that in, and I still should have in my paste, whoops, let's see, if I go up here to the top. Yep, I still have it. There's my SEL slide, my screen. And then I could go in here and edit. I put my choices here. I can ask students to explain their answer. I click this off maybe if I don't like that, and so forth. So you can put in images and embed things and video. It's really neat. So I could keep clicking on those. Then if I want it to be the right answer, I just click mark as correct. So I just click on that, and that's how it grades it for you. Okay. So that would be, you know, maybe if I want to do just a quick warm up or exit slip to get some formative assessment feedback. One thing I want to close out with before we go is don't forget that there is a Desmos geometry. So this is like a great whiteboard for geometry. If you come to that section or you're teaching that class, it's like the sketchpad of the past, Geometer sketchpad. That dates me, I know, but it's also similar to GeoGebra if you've been online for that. But you can embed that and make your own, put that in an activity builder as well. You'll see the geometry in here too. So that's pretty neat. So you can get feedback that way. I think it's great. There's some great already built-in things that are there. And again, you can actually share that out, the Desmos geometry screens, like you do the Desmos graphing calculator. So if you want to put together a lesson in there and then have students manipulate things, you can share it out like that as well. So just wanted to reiterate that. Okay. I appreciate you guys so much for taking your extra time today on a beautiful day to be here with us, and appreciate all the work you're doing in your classrooms and your virtual classrooms. And stay safe. Keep in mind your mental health is just as important as your students. So take care of yourself. Have a wonderful weekend. Make some plans to do something off the computer, and I'm here to support you. So if you need anything at all, I've got all my information on the last slide. There's my email, the Wakelet link, and the website, and I will put this recording on the Wakelet for you. So thanks so much. You guys have a great night.
Susan, can I ask you a quick question?
Yes, go ahead, please.
I've done a couple of short activities that I've created, and maybe this isn't possible in Desmos, but as long as the students have the link, they can always go back in and change whatever they've put into a particular screen, right? If they've had to enter something in a screen, like if you ask them a question and there's a little box there.
Yes. Yeah, it's always open. Is that
So
what you're
there's no
asking?
way, here's what I'm getting at. Like I've used it for a short little quiz, and
That's a good
2 days later, the kid still has the link and suddenly has figured out that they made a mistake, and now they can go in and change their answer. So is that just like unavoidable? There's no way to get.
I actually remember that question somewhere. Hold on just a second. I bet there is a way. Let me get into it. Let me see. Let me get back in here. Hold on just a second. That is a wonderful question.
It's not like I've had kids really take advantage of that. I just
but it's
it
coming.
popped into my mind that wow, as long as kids have the link, they
Yeah,
can use
and
this thing
usually,
anytime they want.
yeah, and I wonder if with the managed classes, I wonder, let's see, activity. Okay, so you could go in, it looks like in the activity history, I wonder if you could go in and unassign it.
So that would
Removes
mean
the
it
activity.
would have to be something you have put into a class you created.
Yeah, let's see
At
what it
some point.
does.
Like right now, I don't have classes. I'm just sharing the
Yeah.
link.
If oh yeah, it gets rid of it. That stinks. So it's not that. Let me see. Let me go back. Yeah, let me investigate that for you, hon. And because I haven't done a managed class yet, but
Okay.
I'm wondering if it gives us, actually you can go back to archive sessions. Okay, so the unassigned would work. So that's what I would do. I would go to your manage classes, which is on the side there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would click on the class or view activity history. And then when you want to stop that quiz, like you don't want them putting in any more answers, then I would go to that and I go back to active session, sorry. Go to the snowman and unassign it. And then it's going to put it in your archive session. So you could still go back and look at it and
Okay.
see how they did, but they wouldn't be able to do any more work on it.
Okay.
So,
And that's, but is that possible? Like right now, I have not created any classes or anything like that. I've just
yeah,
created activities and sent out links.
think you could do it the same way with what you're doing right now. Yeah. So let me go back in
As
and
long
show
as
you
you
that.
archive it, they can no longer
Right.
see it.
They
Even
can no longer. Yeah, it kind of turns it off. So I think that archive feature would still work.
but I could still get to it to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I could go in here, like there's one that I did here at IFP. I can archive, and then at the top I can view archives. So yeah, so you can do the same thing. Yay! We figured it out.
Yeah, and then if I wanted to leave feedback on something for them to later see, that could present a problem, couldn't it? If I've archived it and they could no longer ever get back into it, they would never see my feedback.
You could, so if you gave feedback, and you could probably open it back up because you can reassign it.
Uh-huh.
So, but I'll look at that because I don't know.
And I will too.
Yeah, that's
just
good.
thought I
Yeah,
would ask
share
you
with me if
while I
you
was
get to it
here.
first. Share it with me if you find
Okay,
it out.
I sure will. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, honey. That's great. Thanks. I like that
Okay.
question.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. This
Oh,
was
no
great.
problem. Yeah.
All right,
Take
bye.
care. Bye.